Hello, everybody. My name is Johnny, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the process of creating a scribe project and turning that scribe project into a video that you can use. Now, this webinar is great for new users who are just getting started using the VideoScribe software. Throughout this session, I'll be joined by my colleague Barry. Now, he will be on hand to answer any questions that you have in our chat. This webinar will last around 45 minutes, leaving 15 minutes open for questions at the end. Now, in this video, we will be covering adding components to your scribe, setting a scene, adjusting the camera, adding audio, and creating a video. So, we're going to get started. I'll just switch over to VideoScribe. Now, in this first section, I'm going to show you how to create a new scribe and add media. So I'm going to log in to VideoScribe using my Sparkle email address and password. By clicking on the login button, we can get started. Now I can just create a new scribe by clicking on this button on the top left to get started. So we now start off with our blank canvas on our project screen. Today, we're going to create a new scribe for advertising in the recruitment sector. So we're going to add some content to our blank canvas. And to do this, we can use the buttons on the bottom right corner for adding images, text, or charts. Once added, these elements will be displayed on our timeline at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to add some text by clicking on the Add Text button here. Now in the text box, I can write, let's say, looking for a new job, question mark. Now clicking on the tick on the bottom right corner here, this will add the new text element to the canvas. Now a box will appear around the text with 4 handles allowing us to adjust the size of the text. Now, I'm going to make these words a little bit larger so it's easier to read. Now, what makes VideoScribe so easy to use is that no technical experience is required, and once we've added our text, we can just click play here on the top right, and VideoScribe will draw the letters for us automatically. Now, by adding text to the canvas, you will see that we have now added our first element to our timeline at the bottom of the screen. Now, each time we add a new element of text, image, or charts, they will display in order on the timeline, with our first element on the left, and our last element will be on the right. So I'm now going to add an image to the canvas by clicking on the Add Image button on the bottom right of the screen. Now, VideoScribe has a vast library that you can select your images from, and they're constantly being updated. And this means that no drawing experience is required to create an animation video. So we can either browse through the categories that we're most interested in, Or we can click inside the text box here and we can search for something more specific by typing into the text field what we're looking for. For instance, I'm going to be looking for a picture of a person. So I could click on the categories of people and using the circle tabs at the bottom, I can scroll through to see what's available. I could search in people female. And again, look at the different characters that are available here. And I could search in people male. Again, showing different male characters available in the library. But I would like to search for a character in work attire, as this is going to be an advert recruiting for a job. So I'm going to search for the term work by clicking in the text box and typing in work. I hit enter on my keyboard and we'll see the results. Now, seeing the results on the right-hand side, I can narrow down my search using the filter options on the left-hand side. Here, I can choose to filter by gender. I could filter it by the number of people, by style, by category, and many more as I scroll down the list. But as I would just like the image of a single person, I'm going to filter the number of people to 1. Again, I can now scroll through the available images, clicking on the circle tabs to see what's available. I'm going to select this person of someone jumping with joy here. Now, the image has been added to the canvas, and again, the box appears around the edge, allowing me to resize using the image handles. Here, 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 and here. So let's make this a little bit smaller so it fits in line with my text. And by clicking inside of the box, I can also move this around the canvas. I'm going to have this sit just below the text here. You may have noticed that there is also a rotate circle in the center of the box. If I make this larger, I can show you. But by clicking and holding on this rotate button, I can move my mouse around to rotate 360 degrees. And you can do this with your images or your text. I'm going to resize this image again, making it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to move it down again below my text by clicking and holding inside this box and moving it down. Now, looking at our timeline, we can see that the second element has been added to the right of our text element. And underneath the thumbnail of our text element, it displays 0 seconds. This is the beginning of our scribe project on our timeline. Now, just underneath it to the right, it shows 4.5 seconds. This is how long this element is going to play for. Now, we can see that on my second element, this finishes on 9 seconds. Okay? Now, this means that it will play both of these elements, and at the end, at 9 seconds, the default will zoom out at the end of playback, and it will showcase everything that you have added to the canvas. And I can show this by clicking on the Play from Start button on the top right to see what we have on the canvas. Okay, so I can choose to either play the entire scribe by clicking on the Play from Start button, or I can select my current element from the timeline, and you'll see that next to the Play from Start button, there's also a Play from Current element. So if I would like to see just how my new character draws, I can now click this button here to play that element. Okay. Now, we've added a couple of elements to the canvas, and they will draw for us when we play it back. But I'm now going to show you how I'd like to create a scene. Now, when you add a new element to the canvas, VideoScribe automatically sets the camera to focus on the location you are currently viewing, and it places your image or your text element in the center of it. So to put this into practice, I'm going to scroll down to a new location, and I can do that by clicking and holding the mouse button. I can move down the canvas, and I can move back up. There are various ways of getting around the canvas, as you can also use these buttons on the bottom right. I can use this button to move up, or to move the canvas up, pull the canvas down, pull the canvas to the left, and to pull the canvas to the right. Also on my right-hand side, I've got the plus and minus magnification symbols, allowing me to zoom out and zoom in, as well as having the option to fit to screen. You will see over here there is a percentage symbol, and every time I zoom out or zoom in, it showed me the percentage that I have zoomed. But for quick use, I can also use my mouse wheel to scroll in and out. So, moving to a new place on my canvas, I'm going to zoom out, scroll down, and I would like to set the scene for the job of a chef. So, I'm going to add a new image that I would like to use as this background, and I'm going to browse the image library. So I'm going to open up the Add New Image, and I'm going to scroll down to the category of Scenery, which is this folder here. Again, I would like a background image for a chef for this job role, so I'm going to choose the picture of a kitchen. Let's add this now. And I'm going to resize the kitchen so it fits onto the screen. But this image is just going to be the background. Now, I would like it to draw a bit quicker, so I'm going to change the animation time. So, all in the name, I can change how long it takes for the animation of the hand drawing this kitchen image to complete. So by revisiting our timeline thumbnail at the bottom of the screen, I can click on the blue arrow and pop open our quick options, and the first here, which is highlighted in blue, is our change animate time, and it's got a play button in the middle. Now underneath, you can see that it says animate, and the amount of time is 3 seconds. Now I can change this by clicking on the minus button to decrease, or the plus button to increase the amount of time. The other option I can use is to click on the number itself, and I can just type in the amount of time that I require. Now I'm going to choose a very quick 2 seconds. And then I can click the tick to confirm. So we can see that the number has changed, and when I play it back, we can see that the time it will take to draw the image is only going to be 2 seconds long. Let's play from this element here. Okay. Now, I want to search for an image of a chef to add to this scene. So I'm going to click on the Add Image button again. This time, I'm going to type in the word chef. Hit enter on my keyboard. Okay, I'm going to select this chef character here. I can resize it again to fit in with my kitchen scene. And drag it down clicking and holding within that box. Let's make it a bit smaller. There we are. So for this image element, instead of changing the animation time, I'm going to change the pause time. So I can do this by clicking on our second stopwatch in our quick options. You see highlighted in blue, this is the stopwatch with the pause symbol in the center. Now, this means that after the animation of the hand drawing the image has finished, it then pauses for half a second before moving on to the next element in the timeline. So this is represented by the 0.5. Again, by using the minus and the plus buttons here, I can decrease the amount of time, or I can increase the amount of time. I'm going to change this to 1 second. So this time I have clicked on the amount of time here and can press 1. Click on the tick. And this means it will now pause for 1 second after that animation has finished. Let's play from this. Simple. Now I'm going to add a title for this. So I'm going to click on the Add Text button. And this time we're going to put in, have you got skills for a new role? Question mark. Then I click on the tick again to add this to the canvas. Again, I can move this around and adjust the size and make it a little bit larger, but not too large. And we have now added all the elements that I want to use in my little scene here. So I'm now going to adjust the camera. First of all, I'm going to select the first element in my scene on the timeline, and that was the kitchen background. Now, with the kitchen background selected, I'd like to see how my scribe plays from this point here. And what I can do is I can click this button here on the top right, but as a shortcut, I can also right-click on the element, and then you will have an option to play from here. So I'm going to use this option now. I want to change the camera position for my kitchen background image. So with it selected on the timeline, I can scroll around the canvas. Again, I can just use the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'd like it to fit on the screen. There we are. And when it's in position, I can use these buttons on the bottom right if I wanted to scroll around again, or if I want to choose a certain percentage. But I found that the mouse wheel is a lot easier. And by clicking on the camera icon, I can change the camera settings for this element. On the bottom left, we have the option to set the camera to the current position. So I'm going to click this now. And with our new camera position set, let's play back from this element to see how it looks. You can see that it is now zoomed in to that position so it fits the screen entirely. But that's just for this element. So now I would like to do the same thing for the remaining chef image and text element in this scene. So rather than repeat this process for each element, I can set the camera position for multiple elements. Now, I want to view the camera position of my kitchen background. So in the timeline under the quick menu, let's click on the kitchen and this quick menu here. You can see that there is a camera icon with an eye on the bottom right, and that is to view the element's current camera position. So I click on it here, and it brings me to where the camera is set. Now, As this is the camera position that I want for my remaining two elements, I can hold down the Control key on the keyboard, and I can then click each element one by one. You will see the boxes appear around them on the canvas, and they are highlighted also on the timeline. What I can also do, if I deselect these and select my kitchen element again, I can hold down the Shift key to select a group of elements on the timeline. So I select the first image that I want in my group, and then holding down the Shift key, I select the last image element, and it will select everything in between that selection. Now, with all three of these elements selected, I can now set the camera position for all of them just by clicking on the camera icon on the bottom right. This will now set the camera to the current position for everything that I have selected. So let's click. And now going back to our kitchen icon, let's play back from this current element. Much better. Okay, now we're going to add our final piece of text to finish on. I'm going to scroll down to a new space. Again, just by clicking and dragging the screen. I'm going to add a text element here. This one, I'm just going to write, "Get in touch today." And they can call on 0800 job. Make this a little bit larger. Now, I'm going to show you how to change the transition time on an element. So previously, we covered how to change the animation time, which is how long it takes for the hand to draw your text or your image. And then the pause time is how long it lingers on that element after it's finished drawing. The transition time is how long it takes to move from one element to the next. So, first of all, I'm going to select my text element from the last scene, and I want to view where that is. So whilst I've got these camera settings open, I click on the camera with the eye. That will take me to the view of the last scene. And what we're going to change is this last stopwatch with the forward arrow, which is for the transition time. Currently, that is set to 1 second. I would like it to take a little bit longer to move over to my text element, which follows in the timeline. So I'm going to increase this just by using the plus button, 3 seconds. This now means that after it has finished drawing the text and then pausing on it, it will then take 3 seconds to move to my next piece of text. Let's use our shortcut by right-clicking and selecting play from here. There we are. So as it lingers on that last piece of text, again, I would like to change that camera position. So I'm going to click on the text. With my quick options, click on the camera. I can view that current position. We can see at the top, there's still a little bit of the last scene still in view. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit just by rolling forward on the mouse. We can see that piece is now gone and it looks like a new scene. I'd like to select this as my camera position. So I just click on the camera with a tick. And instead of playing everything through again, I can just right-click, play from here, to see that it draws okay in that new position. Now, in this section, we've talked over how to search for image library and create a scene using the camera and setting your animation timings. What I'd like to do now is show you how to add audio to our scribe. Now, VideoScribe has a suite of soundtracks available for you to choose from, and they're varying in different genres, different moods, and different tempos. Now, this is all accessible by clicking on the music icon on the top right of the screen. Now, this is the music library. I can browse through the available tracks, and by default, they will be listed alphabetically. And just like the image library, I have the categories that I can scroll through, well, from a drop-down menu here on the left. But I can also select them one by one through the menu. So we can see that there's information on each track. First of all, starting with the name, this first one being Adrenaline Junkie. Then we have the length of time that it plays for, which is for 1 minute. And then underneath, we have 3 blocks under here. Now, this is for the different moods that you can scroll through. We'll get to that in a second, but I can also preview the track here. Now, the preview button next to the track lets you have a listen before you add it onto the canvas. But using my webinar software, I'm aware that this comes out much louder than it does on your own machine. So I'm going to select a track first, and I'm going to turn it way down. So you'll still be able to hear it, but hopefully it's not going to be ruining your speakers. So we're going to test this one here just by using a preview. And stop. We don't need to add it to the side every time. We can just click one by one, browsing through the different music that's available. Now, using the drop-down box on the left-hand side, I can organize this list by name, which is the default that's selected, and can also choose one from short to long. Now, as I mentioned, you can see the length of time for each track right next to the name. So for instance, this one, Rock Guitar Loop, 16 seconds long. But my scribe is longer than 16 seconds. So if I were to choose this track, the music would finish before that animation finished playing. So in this situation, I can click on this loop track box here. Once ticked, the music will repeat, continuously looping those 16 seconds of music throughout the animation. So let's give this one a try, just to have a preview. I'm going to click on the tick here, and I'm going to play from the start. Okay. Now, that's nice enough, but it's not quite the mood that I'm looking for. So I'm going to return to the music library, and we're going to have a look again through the different options. So dropping down this menu here, we can see that we also have more options available from short to long, long to short, the longest one here being 8 minutes and 36 seconds if you've got a particularly long scribe. But then underneath we have our moods. Now, this can sort from calm to heavy and heavy to calm. Starting with calm to heavy, this ranges from blue to red, with 1 blue square for calm tracks, such as Twinkle. And then moving on to 2 lavender squares underneath here. It's slightly more upbeat. Beautiful. And then it starts to get a little bit more intense when you move up to 3 squares of purple. And then finally 4 red squares at the end that are going with a very fast pace of essentially drawing things. A bit more of an easier listening mood. So I'm going to select Jazzler and add that to my scribe. Okay. Now that's added a music soundtrack, and there are 2 channels of audio that are available. So your first channel is using your audio for a music soundtrack. The second is adding a voiceover. Now, we can click here on a microphone at the top, and we have our voiceover screen. First thing you can see is a drop down, and this will show all the microphones that are currently available and connected to the computer. So if, like myself, you may have a headset, you may have a separate microphone connected by USB, but also it's worth noting that having webcams have their own camera as well that you can use. Sometimes it's through, if you're using a laptop, or if you have a separate webcam, that can also come up as a separate one. So I'm going to use the microphone in my headset. And then checking this box here next to play scribe on record. This will allow you to play the scribe animation whilst you record. And so this makes it really easy to time your speech with the animation in real time. And what happens next is clicking on the red button will begin a 3-second countdown till it starts to record my voice. Let's give this a try. Looking for a new job? Have you got skills for a new role? Get in touch today at 0800 job job job. Pretty professional, if I do say so myself. Now, VideoScribe will then process that audio, and you will notice when playing back, just like previewing the scribe or playing any audio, what you have are some pretty basic playback controls, which is to press play to listen back. Again, I'm going to turn the volume down very low because it comes out a lot louder because of the webinar. Looking for a new job? I won't play that all the way through. And again, once you hit play, you can stop the sound, you can pause it in certain parts, but you also have a red trash can icon, and that's going to allow you to delete and start over again. The best way to do it, of course, is just to record whilst that scribe is playing, and that's how you're going to get all the best timings when you're setting it up. So let's click on this tick icon here to add this to my scribe. And once recorded, I can now play the whole thing back just to listen to how it sounds. Looking for a new job? Have you got skills for a new role? Get in touch today at 0800. Okay, now that's all the audio that I need for now. The next thing we're going to do is to turn this scribe into a video by using the share button on the top right of the screen. Now, you'll see a few options available here. First of all, you've got the preview of the scribe image itself. On the bottom right here, for people who want to add their own watermark to the video, you can click Add a Logo. And you can add your logo that will then remain on the bottom right of the video once it's been rendered. We also have a tick box here for zoom at end. Now, you may have noticed whilst I've been playing the videos back, once it finishes playing everything that is in your timeline, it will then zoom out to show everything that is on your canvas. If you want your scribe to finish just on that last element and not zoom out, then you untick this zoom at end box, and then that's it. It just finishes on the last element that you have. So the last element that I have in my timeline is just the text. For example, if I go back now, I don't need to play it all the way through. So I can just move the mouse down to this element on the timeline, right click and play from here. Get in touch today at 0800. Now, it's finished, and it's finished at the end just on that text element. However, I have now got text that is longer, so a text element being drawn, and that finishes before the audio finishes. So what I'd like to do is to have this text element pause for a little bit longer, because I'd like to get the rest of that audio and keep that remaining in my scribe. So again, I can see these options under my quick menu. I've got the animation time, the pause time, and the transition time. I would like to change the pause time, so I click on this stopwatch here. And instead of being 0.5 seconds, I'm going to change it up to 4 seconds. And then we can see if that's long enough to keep all that audio in by right-clicking and playing from here. Get in touch today at 0800 job. Much better. Okay. Now going back to our video options, the first option that you have is to download a video. And what that means that VideoScribe will render your scribe project as a video file that you can use. So the options that we have available are changing the format, changing the size, and changing the frame rate. The format by default will start as a Windows WMV. So I myself at the moment are using a Windows machine. But if you scroll across, you can also use a QuickTime MOV. So this is helpful if you're using a Mac or QuickTime Player, or AVI files, which are usually a default that work with most playback, with most video players. If you are a little more advanced, if you're using VideoScribe, possibly with another video editing program, such as Premiere or such, you may want to have what's called an image sequence. These options here are having an image sequence as a PNG or image sequence as JPEG. What this does is render your video into a series of images that you can then import into a video editor. It's very helpful if you want to have a video that is used as a layer on top of other videos. But I want to advise using that if you're just wanting to use VideoScribe just to get a video file itself. So I'm going to stick with using a WMV video file, and changing the size here, we can change the resolution of the video. So you have 360, 640, 720, and 1080. And of course, the smaller the size of resolution means the smaller the video file itself is going to be. And also the less time it's going to take to render. Whereas if I select a full HD in 1080, that's going to take a lot longer, but it will be higher quality in the end. So depending on what you require. Frame rate, again, it's mainly for advanced users. By default, it's set to 25 frames per second. You're not really going to need to change this unless there's a specific frame rate that you need to have it changed to if you're using a video editor, etc. Down at the bottom, we have the name of the video file that I would like to change to recruitment. And then clicking on this section here, this will open up your file browser so you can select a location that you would like your video to be downloaded to. But I'm not going to do this yet. I'm going to show the other options. The second option we have is Shoko. Now, Shoko is a video renderer that we have available from Sparkle. Like YouTube, what will happen is you can click and it will provide you with an option to be able to upload your video to our renderers. Now, the difference is rather than rendering on your computer to a video file, it will render on our servers instead. This means that once it's uploading, you can then carry on creating a new scribe or carrying with any other work. It doesn't need to use your computer to be able to render. So, but rather than render just one video at 360 or 1080, Shoko will render in 360, 720, and 1080. So it will render all of these video files, so it will take a lot longer than doing a standard render by yourself. But at the end, you've got all the videos available to download at any time, and it's also available to playback via the web browser. So for instance, if I click on our privacy setting here, like with YouTube, you have an option for having it public, which means it's available to everyone. You can choose unlisted, which means your video won't come up in any searches on the channel. And you also have private, which again means that you can invite people to view it. If they don't have an account, they can't view it, but it's available if you just give them a link. So if I click on the tick box here, all it does is update that Scribe project, upload it to our servers, and then you've got the option for a link, an embed code if you're using it on the web, and then you've also got a link to see that video online. So you'll click it, and then once it has finished rendering, you'll be able to view it directly from that link, or you'll get an email to say once that render has been finished and it's available to view. The next option we have, of course, is YouTube. And with YouTube, you can select your title, you can enter your description, and any tags that you'd like to use as well. Then once you click on the tick box, what you'll be able to do is to log in to your preferred YouTube account. So whichever channel that you have, you can then log into that account, and then it will become available in your list of videos once it's finished uploading. The same as with Facebook. We'll then render your scribe to a video, and then it will ask you to enter your details. Ooh, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to cancel this render because I don't need to go through it now. You have the option, you can cancel any render at any time. As I mentioned before, using Shoko is a lot easier because it renders on our servers, and then you can just carry on creating new scribes or working on that same scribe again. However, if you decide to render using your own computer, it can take a bit of time. So sometimes you might want to cancel out if you've forgotten that you need to change something. And then the last option that you do have available is for creating a PowerPoint file. Now with a PowerPoint file, using Microsoft PowerPoint, it will create a slide for you. And with that slide, it will embed a video file onto that slide, and it will then create a PPTX file. That file opens up in VideoScribe, and then it opens up in PowerPoint, and then just has a default slide available for you that you can keep on adding different slides onto like a normal presentation. But that one slide is just a playback that you can then watch that video over and over again. So what we're going to do while this video renders, and we have something to show, my colleague Barry has been answering in the chat. So let's see if there are any specific questions that you'd like us to answer for this remaining time of the webinar. Okay, so one of the questions that we had was how to change the color of text. So for instance, changing the color of the text up over the kitchen so it shows up clearer. That's a very good idea. It's taken a bit of time to actually finish rendering on this one. I will talk you through it. So what you can do is, whilst adding a text element onto the canvas, you can select it to have an option to go into the text properties. So you can do this by double clicking, or you can select a little icon on the bottom left of the thumbnail. If this isn't showing up on the screen at the moment, let's take a second. I think what's happened is click this too many times. Right, let's cancel that. So let's go to our text here. As we want to view where it is on the camera, I'm going to click on the camera with the eye. And you can see that it's all in black. And correct, it's not the most easy to read at the moment. So I have element properties here on the bottom left, or I can double click. Let's show it again. So clicking element properties brings us back to the same place. So what we want to do is to edit the text. You'll see on the text here, we have different fonts available, but this black square here is the current color of the text. Now, on our color charts, we have available many selections, but everything that's available in the hex as well. So if you are working for a company, for example, that has a specific color that they need to use for their fonts, for any images actually, then you can type in the hex value. But let's try a nice sunny yellow. And click on the tick. And then we can see how that draws. Let's right click and play from here. Have you got skills for new roles? And that's how you can change the color of text. Let's see. Show a quick fade option. Now, VideoScribe since version 3 has introduced an option for fade. I will show you how the fade works. As I've mentioned before, we have the animation time. Now, the animation at the moment for these elements on the timeline shows you how to change the animation of drawing an element. And that means drawing either a text or an image of a chef or background. Everything is just being drawn. If we go into our settings, for instance, this chef, I'm going to double click to open up the properties. You'll see by default it will open up on the drawing options. Under the drawing options, on first drop down, we have the option for draw, we have the option for move in, the option for fade in, and the option for morph. So what I'm going to show you is how to get an image or text element just to fade in. So clicking on fade in, this changes now how it looks. So we can preview it by clicking on this play button here. And that's it. I'll try and I'm going to increase the amount of time it takes so you can see it in motion a little bit better. So I'm going to increase the animate time. So instead of animating how long it takes to draw that image, it's going to see how long it takes to fade that image in from nothing. So let's increase it to 7 seconds and see how it looks. Better. Then I can click on the tick to add that. Let's preview it from the kitchen so we can see the difference from when it draws to when it's fading. So I'm going to click play from current element here. And now that chef just fades in with no hand drawing. Have you got skills for new? Let's stop that there. Ooh, last of all is import an image, which is a good one. Now, at the moment, I've got my kitchen background, and that is a suitable background for a chef. However, if I wanted to put in a different image that I have myself, for instance, I'm going to move to a new scene. Let's scroll to a blank place on the canvas. And for instance, if I wanted to add the image of someone working in an office, so I can add a new image here by clicking on this button. And you will notice that on the bottom left of the image library, you have an option for import. So, as it says, you can import SVG, GIF, BMP, or ZIPs. You can use PNG images or JPEG images as well. I'm going to click on this icon here, and I have the picture of an office. We can click open, and VideoScribe will import that image. Now, it will have default options available when you import an image that's not within the library. And what VideoScribe can do, it can do what's called a revealing sketch, and that will have a hand come up and draw. If we click here, we can preview it. As we looked at different animation types available, you also have a move-in, and move-in will have a hand bring that onto the canvas. Now, I'm going to stick with a draw, and then you have the option for reveal, or you have the option for sketch. Now, using sketch, this works best if you have line drawings, things with an outline, perhaps something that's drawn like a cartoon. So then VideoScribe will try and draw along those lines. Whereas if you have things that are like photos, reveal is the best way to use it. So I'm going to click on the tick here and add this office image to my canvas. Again, using the handles around the outside, I can make this a little bit larger. And then I would like to set that as the correct position for the camera. And then I can add another image of a person. This time I'm going to type in work again. Hit enter, and I would like a man in a suit. That will do. Now I can combine this with what I've changed for the chef character. I can have this office scene being drawn, and I can have this character being faded in. So I can double click or click on the properties icon to bring up the image properties. And then instead of changing it from a draw animation, I can change it to a fade in. I'm going to set it to 7 seconds again, so we can showcase how it's fading in. We can see it working properly. And now let's preview from this element here by playing from here. There we are. However, I do not like that changing camera position because that doesn't look very good. So let's change the camera position for both of these. Again, I can hold Control on my keyboard, or I can hold Shift on my keyboard. I'm going to highlight both of them. And then I'm going to click the camera with a tick on the bottom right of the screen to set that camera for both of those elements. Let's play back one last time. Ooh, let's stop there because I've turned it from the wrong place. My apologies. Let's right click and play from here. Okay. If there are any further questions, please do let us know. We will be available for the next 5 minutes. The video feed will be stopped, but we will still be available to answer some questions. However, If you have any suggestions at all, or anything that you would like to see in another webinar, please also let us know. You can drop us an email at hello@sparkle.com. And again, for any other queries, we do have our help site, which has many videos and instant answers available for any questions that you might have. So if there's anything that you feel may need to be included or a topic that you would like covered, please do let us know. We'll be more than happy to help. And you can find us at sparkle.com or VideoScribe.com. It's up on the website, and let us know what you think. Thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy using VideoScribe. Take care.